The nearly 3,000 unsolved murder and missing persons cases in Washington state are solvable. That is why the Unsolved Northwest team is working to bring renewed attention to them in hopes of finding justice for the victims and their families. Here's a collection of 10 cases from the 1980s and 90s from around Western Washington.
Family members say 14-year-old Tanya Frasier was shy and quiet almost 1 week after she mysteriously disappeared.
Like I said, take your time. Yeah, we'll get through it.
Okay.
My name is Tanya Frasier, and Tanya is my sister. And my soulmate. Sorry.
No.
I remember just waiting for her, and I was like, she's got to come home. Like, I slept with my window open all night because I'm like, she's just out. Even though she had never, ever, like, snuck out or, you know, not come home, I couldn't fathom that anything had happened to her.
She turned up dead on Saturday in this field near the Arboretum, found by a man walking his dog.
Well, everybody's just devastated. I mean, totally devastated.
It was like the most numbing feeling. And then a lot of the rest is a blur after that. It still hurts just as much. I can like function, but the moment anybody says anything about her, or I see somebody that we went to middle school with, it makes me cry. And I love talking about her, but it makes me cry every single time. It hurts. Now that, you know, I'm older, I go up and just sit, you know, at the cemetery and talk to her and cry, sometimes laugh. It makes me feel a little bit closer to her. I can't imagine this just never being solved and us never having that closure.
The week that Tanya went missing, the family was contacted by a private investigator named Rose Winquist, and she's been on the case ever since.
I have a couple banker boxes full of stuff. I've followed up on different leads. We met with them in August. Essentially, what they told Teresa and Tira was that you'll hear from us when we make an arrest.
Years and years later, when it's still the same thing, it doesn't reassure me. Why can't you talk to me? Like, I'm family. But I felt like since I was a kid, they've said the same thing to me.
I started working on this case in June of 2016. There's a lot of persons of interest, and until we reach a conclusion in this case, no one's going to give a pass. Tanya Frasier was last seen by friends and students at the intersection of 21 and East Thomas that morning about 11 a.m. Several of her classmates and friends described her talking to an unknown individual. Was that person involved? Maybe.
I am hopeful. I can't imagine this just never being solved and us never having that closure. This is one of our last pictures, but I love seeing her face. Everybody who knew her loved her. Like, she was just such an amazing soul and human being, and she made my life better and so many other people's life better and joyous.
This is a nonsense crime because Linda was very devoted to her family. She took good care of all of us.
You know, them poor babies, I feel sorry for them. That's the reason why I bought flowers over here this morning.
And we don't know why it's happened. And we want to know who it is. We want some justice to be done.
We grew up together, and I mean, she was pretty much my best friend until she was taken away from me. Linda was incredibly amazing. She came over here as a little girl from Vietnam.
Was a very lovely daughter. The time she born, I jump up and down because I'm so happy. My daughter is a good person. She's treating people right.
Her children were everything to her. Austin was only 22 months old at the time. Patricia was 9. Linda was 26 and she was pregnant. And then this one, do you have this one, Uncle?
Memories of Linda Tran and her children live on in this house.
And every time we talk about this subject or Linda, we should have happy thoughts, and we are happy when we get to think about them, but we know that the end result isn't there. Like, we have no closure.
Her family is searching for answers.
Anybody knows anything? I mean,
They've been searching for more than 20 years.
and we don't know why it's happened.
We talked a lot, and she never once had mentioned feeling threatened.
It was a Friday night, December 18th, 1998, a week before Christmas. Linda Tran and her 2 children abruptly left her father's home.
She had rushed home because she had gotten a phone call saying, "Hey, I'm at your house and I have Christmas presents for the kids."
Linda never said who called.
And after that, she went home with somebody waiting for her.
That was the last time her family saw her alive.
Detective Yerbury?
Yeah.
I'm good. Madison.
Hi, Madison.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Thanks for your time.
Sure. I'm going to guess it was about right here.
Right where we're standing.
Yeah. Well, when I arrived, the fire was under control.
And there was fire engines out in front of the house.
Medical people, police personnel.
Numerous TPD officers out front.
A very chaotic scene. It was getting dark. It's in December. The blast was very violent, very, very powerful. The witnesses heard some yelling and some shouting. A short time after that, the suspect was seen running from the back of the house. House exploded.
Whoever this was knew Patricia, knew Austin, and lured them in with Christmas gifts.
Another possible avenue to explore here. What happened to Linda the night before she was murdered?
And she had called me it was probably at 8 o'clock at night. She'd just gotten home, again, just from her parents' house. And she said that the back window was broken. So at that time, we just figured it was just some kind of random, attempted burglary or something.
But is it possible that there's a connection there?
Of course, yeah, there certainly is a possible that somebody wanted to send a message, somebody wanted to go in and lay in wait.
You read through these case files recently. What stood out to you?
The young children.
Do you think this is a solvable case?
Absolutely.
What makes you think that?
Like I said, there is somebody that knows something. I believe that this was not just random. It comes down to somebody talking.
Is there somebody out there that is incredibly evil to do such a thing and then live with it for 24 years?
So we need somebody help me, help my family to find out who did it.
We need closure for the family.
If I could have one wish, that would be the wish.
Anybody knows anything? I mean, just for the sake of 2 children.
Every day. I used to hear that when I was little, oh, I think about this person every day, and I always thought, no, you don't think about it every day, but I can honestly say that every single day since she's died, I've thought about her. My name is Kermit Hanowell, and my sister Brandi Marie Hanowell was murdered on January 7th, 1997.
So this is what Brandi wrote to Kerm and gave to him on his graduation. Kermit, I remember long ago when you were my only friend When I needed anything, you were there to lend. When I was 4 and you were 6, as scary as that seems, we were both adopted. It was you on whom I leaned. She wrote so poetically.
This is very likely the route I probably took on that day. There has not been a time that I have driven down the 1500 block of G Street where I have not remembered in vivid multicolor what happened on that day. It just sits with you and you never forget it. It was a crisp January day. It was freezing out and the sky was cloudless. We got called because patrol was called to a welfare check for someone screaming in the 1500 block of G Street. When the patrol officers got there and they narrowed down which apartment it was and they made entry, they discovered Brandi and Lauren deceased in the apartment.
That night, there was a message on our answering machine that was from the police department and they wanted to come and see us. At the door they said, "Who belongs to Brandi Hanowell?" And I said, "I do." So they sat down and said there had been a crime in Bellingham and that there were 2 people that were dead. And one of them they thought was my daughter, Brandi. And I called Kerm.
She said that the Medford police had showed up and let her know that they found 2 bodies in Bellingham and they think it was Brandi. And I think I asked her to repeat it because I said, it doesn't sound right, because if what you're saying is true, then you're saying Brandi's dead. I remember hanging up the phone and I said, I'm just gonna go to bed because hopefully I'm gonna wake up and this is all a big dream. And then I went to bed and woke up the next day and it was still true, so.
We never really heard any more about what happened.
The thing that I remember hearing was they thought that it might have been a drug deal that went bad.
It wasn't like a random invasion. Somebody they knew had let them in. I mean, it was so sudden. She was still in her chair with her legs crossed, and so they were killed rapidly. Hey girls, it's all good memories, all good memories. This is Vivid.
It was fun, she was so fun.
Yes, it's all gone, honey. Somehow we got through some of the torture of losing Brandi. I'm Claire Dirksen, and I'm happy to have been the mom of Brandi Hanowell. How can this person live knowing he did this to 2 people? I don't know. But it won't bring her back, and that's the hard part. It won't bring her back.
Almost a feeling of defeat, just because, you know, we're sitting here stuck in this mire or whatever of not knowing what happened, who did it, but knowing that there is someone out there who does know all this stuff.
All these years later, the circumstances that led to Brandi's death remain a mystery. Bellingham police say there's still a detective assigned to it, say they're still working it. But to date, no arrest has been made, no suspect been made public.
Just don't forget your little sis, and don't forget to phone. I love you, Kerm. I gotta say, I wish I was going with. But we've got our lives, our own plans, and it's gonna be me you miss. Love, Brandi.
Police say at about 7 p.m., 3 men burst into the business. Their motive was robbery, but it soon turned into murder.
It was one of those scenes you don't forget because there's wailing involved.
The store's been ransacked, the cash register and stuff like that. It appears that it's been a robbery that went bad.
You know, my recollection is that the cash drawer is ajar. He's down, obviously injured. Plenty of people helping him already. But the main thing for me is to preserve for what possible evidence we have. You never forget it. It's reverberating out of the store, into the alley, and it's just a sound that you never, ever forget. Because you know that's the sound of guttural human pain. You know, when you know your community, they always say you're more connected to your community, and that was the case with Min Grocery.
In 1995, Mann is in his 30s, and he says that immediately he was very confident that Kim's killer would be caught. The problem he describes is that witnesses immediately went quiet. Nobody wanted to talk to police.
This is just terrible.
Very nice gentleman, very polite.
Two types of people. Those who love the police and won't talk to them, and those who hate the police and won't talk to them.
The Kim family was very well known in what was then referred to as the Tacoma-Portland Avenue corridor. Min Grocery is still there today. The old sign is still there. It is under new ownership. As we found out, it's a family that over the last couple of decades had at least 2 bouts with very serious crime.
The name of the robbery suspect has not been released.
I cocked a gun and my mom pointed to the guy that was driving away. That's when I fired.
That's 15-year-old Min Kim, Jung Nam Kim's son. He's speaking to King 5 in 1988. That's 7 years before his father is murdered. Pretty amazing story. The teenager, he actually stops a robbery in progress. His mother was tending to the store when armed men came in. He grabbed his father's rifle, chased them out of the Min Grocery store, shooting and hitting one of the robbers.
I feel that I did the right thing. My mom was out there and the guy had the gun out the window, so she would probably got hurt if I wasn't out there.
Store regulars, men and women that knew the Kim family, will tell you that not much has changed since the mid-'80s, the 90s. They say that the neighborhood is pretty much the same.
Everybody's getting murdered and not getting investigated these days. It's like nobody cares anymore.
It's gotten worse. It's gotten, I mean, only in Tacoma. What goes on here stays here, but it's gotten worse here.
King 5 made several attempts to contact the Kim family about this case, though their silence makes it clear that they want to move on and close this chapter. Yeah, just the introduction one more time. Okay. For Mann, though, who was one of the first police officers on scene, it's clear that this case is very much still alive in his dreams and in his nightmares.
It's just horrible to see a hardworking family make a business succeed, and then to have these street-level creatures take that all away from them. It's the opposite of the so-called American dream.
My daughter's favorite movie was The Never-Ending Story. This is it.
It was September 1992. Diana dropped 14-year-old Misty Copsey off at the Puyallup Fairgrounds.
I said, okay, I love you, baby. She said, I love you. And then she went off.
Misty, along with her 15-year-old friend Trina Bavard, they spent the afternoon at the fair and did what normal teenagers do.
She was supposed to catch a bus home and called me at work and said she missed her bus.
Misty was never seen again.
The last known sighting of Misty is a Pierce Transit bus driver.
She was last seen a few blocks away at a bus stop.
I held out hope until we found her jeans up on Highway 410.
The clothing found found near the remains of 2 other young murder victims from Puyallup.
They were her clothes, there was no doubt.
Detectives never found Misty's remains, and they have not been able to tie those jeans or any evidence to any suspect.
While Misty's mom firmly believed those jeans belonged to her daughter, investigators with the Puyallup Police Department concluded they did not. The DNA found on those jeans did not match Misty's.
We would love to have more physical evidence. We don't know where Misty is. Without Misty, it makes it very difficult to find out what happened to her.
She just can't be thrown away.
Misty's mother was very motivated to find her daughter.
My mom, Diana, by every essence of the word, she's a fighter.
She expressed anger that her daughter had not been found.
And her purpose, I wholeheartedly believe, is to be a mother. And unfortunately with Misty, that was taken from her.
Just have her home so I could go be with her and comfort her, and that means the world to me. That would be, you know, all I could ask.
We always endeavored to find Misty, especially so that her mother would have closure.
And it destroyed her,
And the fact that her mother has passed away without knowing what happened to her is also very heartbreaking.
They're both gone now. They live through me, they live on through me, they breathe my breath. And it's important to me that we solve this.
Detectives now say memories from the Puyallup Fairgrounds may hold the answers to Misty's disappearance.
We spent about 9 months going back and interviewing every single person involved. What you end up with are statements that are different than they were in 1992.
I feel that if Puyallup Police Department would have done their job correctly, initially, in the early days of the case, when finding evidence and having that available to them was so important, we would be way further.
Current detectives in today's day and age are reviewing these cold cases, and they're frustrated with the manner in which the case was investigated initially. That's very common. Law enforcement has come a long way in the last 30 years. Advanced training, new technology.
She was labeled a runaway, and she was not, honestly.
I always felt that we could solve this case before I retire. And knowing that we may still be looking for Misty when I retire is, it's very heartbreaking.
I was robbed of a sister. I was robbed of an older sibling, or a sibling in general. I'm an only child. I could have had a big sister. And she's out there somewhere alone, and she deserves to be buried as a proper human being with respect.
And she was my child, and she needs to be put to rest respectfully. I miss her a lot.
The cemetery's in Marysville. I mean, she's right along the pathway. So I just park the car on the pathway and I take a few steps, and you know, there's stones right there. It's still a tragedy 30 plus years later.
So the biggest question now is,
who actually saw her last?
My name is Robert Dawson. I'm the oldest brother of Catherine. She was my little sister.
tell me about Kathy.
She was the baby that, you know, kind of looked after. She was a great person. She was always very happy.
My name is Lynn McKee, and I am the mother of Catherine Lynn Dawson. She loved horses, dogs. She showed dogs. She got along with everybody. She was a street kid and trusted everybody.
Family members say Kathy was involved in drugs. She struggled with addiction, and she hung out with known drug dealers. In fact, the last time Bob spoke to her, she was in jail on drug-related charges.
Sometime after she got out of jail. She says, I plan on coming over and seeing Eva on the 27th of June when I'm, I'll be out by then. We never heard from her.
She would phone me constantly during the week, said, Eva's birthday was coming up.
I'm Eva Dawson.
And she wanted to have a birthday party.
My mother is Kathy Dawson.
When she didn't phone back, I knew something was wrong.
She just never showed up. It's been sad and just, it hurts my heart.
Investigators are involved in this tedious, hands-on search in this illegal garbage dump. They say it's too early to tell.
And we heard this story being released on the news. I knew in my heart that it was her.
The skeleton found in this garbage dump is all that's left of this woman, 24-year-old Catherine Dobson. Her killer left her body here sometime between June 20th and July 17th.
People come in here and they throw car parts, furniture parts, and general trash. And it's difficult for the detectives to find, what's evidence and what's non-evidence because of that.
It drove me crazy that they labeled her.
This club, the Deja Vu in Everett, is where the victim worked as a topless dancer until her disappearance in June.
Dancer from Deja Vu. They never said that she was a mother, a daughter.
Investigators still aren't sure if her work here has anything to do with her death.
Wasn't right. She was a human being.
Almost a year later, December 1992, finally a break in the case. Informants tell prosecutors that Kathy's murder was a hit job ordered by Yakima-based drug traffickers who thought Kathy was a snitch.
The enforcement end of that organization picked her up from jail, and then she was gone, taken from us.
Were you surprised when they let them go?
Yes. Because in my gut, I thought they had something to do with it.
Do you still believe that?
Yep.
Of course, DNA wasn't there at the time, but we have DNA now. Why can't they get solved?
I want somebody to pay for their crime.
Fess up. Give us some clues.
I just wish I got to know my mom.
Heartbreaking when I look at Eva because I see my sister.
I randomly go up to Marysville and see my mother's gravesite. It gives me a little peace, I talk to her.
Well, I talk to her about her kids. I give her updates on her kids.
Yeah, sometimes I'll catch myself just talking to her. I don't really know what I'm talking to, but...
She was just a wonderful sister, a wonderful mother. Yeah, that's how she should be remembered.
It's not fair. It's just not fair.
When somebody taking your sister away from you, you don't heal. You never heal. I mean, it's like living in hell. We're still thinking about her, and that we're hoping someone out there knows what's happened. I mean, someone does, and maybe can help us find her, bring her home for my mom.
I feel
Today, it's just anniversary ceremony. What the monk is doing is just chanting her name, and that wherever she's at, they hope that she's at peace.
I'm just gonna put this around your collar if that's all right. All right, and we're good to go.
Yeah, I responded to their apartment. I have a vague recollection of it, just that I was called there on a call and talked to the family, got the information. This was just one of the flyers that was sent out by our police department at the time when we were searching for Wiki and investigating the case. She had left home in the Linwood area and gone to Shoreline Community College, where she was dropped off there reportedly by her current boyfriend at that time. And then from there was going to be going down to downtown Seattle. She worked at the Federal Building. She did not show up to work.
After she went missing, we realized that they've been dating for 2 years. He was married. She was 17 when they met, and he was 27. She wanted him to leave his wife, and he kept promising her he would.
Did the boyfriend have an alibi?
He had an alibi that he was at work. It's not proved or disproved whether he was or wasn't there.
Wiki's boyfriend did give a statement to police. In it, he describes how Wiki claimed she had been raped by multiple men. He even had the names of those alleged rapists, but police could never find any evidence to support his stories. Police also tell us that after giving that statement, the boyfriend failed the polygraph test.
It was a convoluted story of victimization. Our detectives made a number of efforts to corroborate any of those storylines and those people, and they found nothing. So I think those storylines were disproven.
In the Asian culture, we don't really have therapy. We don't talk openly. We try to hide everything because what people think of us is very important.
Do you have any plans, as best you know, to re-interview the boyfriend?
Not currently, no. The case is not being actively investigated. It's not closed. It's still an open case for us. This is an age-progressed photo that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children did on Wiki, what she would be presumed or estimated to look like today.
We do not want people to forget about her. She still have a family that love her very much, that wants her home. Every time we do this, it's like she's alive again to us. I don't give up hope, and I'll keep going even after my mother's gone, and after I'm gone, my daughter will keep going.
We knew she did not run away. We were just hoping that whoever took her would just bring her back.
I can't believe it's been that long. In some ways, it seems like it just happened. This is Misty right here. Kelly Carlson, and I'm Misty's aunt. Got a phone call from my nephew who just said, Misty's gone. He said somebody came in the house and took her.
She was taken out of her bed.
Jeff Sage, who manages the apartment, shows us the window the alleged kidnapper reportedly crawled through, taking Misty while her two brothers slept inside.
He saw the man come in by the bathroom window, and he was so scared that he laid still, and he didn't hear any other sounds, and then he had fallen back to sleep. When he woke up another hour or so later, Misty was gone. We just started going door to door, checking the apartment complex. Within an hour of not being able to find her, we called the police. The two officers that showed up when we called them that first night were really convinced that she had just run away. It didn't seem to register that, you know, someone had literally broken into the house and then she was gone. They were telling us things like, well, she'll probably turn up, she probably ran away. Misty wasn't the kind of child that would have taken off and ran away anyway. She was a very innocent child. And on the television, there was a news program, and they were pulling a body from the river. We turn, and in pulls the police into the driveway. We knew then that there was something very wrong. I can still remember it like it was yesterday, seeing her tiny little body there. There were what looked like to me to be bruising. Her hair was still wet. I remember asking the coroner, how long had she been in that water? And he said only a couple hours.
When Misty's body was found, she was only wearing a t-shirt and jeans. Initial autopsy reports show she drowned and had no damage to her feet. Police searched the shoreline and bridge for shoes and a jacket, but they never found any.
And there was no possible way for, you know, an 11-year-old girl to get from her house across that bridge without somebody seeing her. My sister completely just mentally went away. I felt like I lost my sister and my niece that same day.
It really was unsettling. It was very terrifying. It definitely changed our lives. My name is Nicole Peterson. I am Mistie Micheletti's cousin.
It wouldn't be until February.
A month later, before her death was ruled a homicide, when lab reports came back, indicating that in fact she had been sexually assaulted.
Since 2018, the genetic genealogy community has solved over 1,000 cases. My name is Lisa Lewis, and I'm a forensic investigative genetic genealogist. From 1994 to now, the technology has improved so we can get a lot more DNA out of a lot smaller samples. It's really hard for us to even wrap our brains around how small of a sample is needed.
I'm not sure what DNA is left to be able to do that type of technology now. This is information that we're not really privileged to through the police department. 10 years ago, they submitted clothing and there was nothing. But maybe now, with new technology, more DNA could be found.
Vancouver police tell us if there is viable technology to solve Misty's case, they'll use it. Her case is still active and detectives continue to follow leads.
Look at how pretty she is. Not knowing it makes you crazy. After 30 years, I don't know if I'll live to see the closure.
Mistie Micheletti deserves justice. It's time to solve this, and it's time to bring justice to Misty and to her family. Whoever did this, we're gonna find you. We're not gonna stop until we do.
Co-workers say Kearns is an accomplished day hiker, but it would be very unlike her to go out and stay several days. That adds to their worry and the urgency of the search.
She was beautiful. I mean, she was absolutely beautiful.
She was so happy. It was just that glow on her face.
She had like these very, very clear eyes that to me like reminded me of, you know, the mountain streams that we had up there.
The person they're describing is Sheila Kearns, a woman they worked with at Mount Rainier National Park.
This was the summer of '96. Around August, most of the kids go back to school. So the crew's kind of down, but we still need to finish up for about 6 weeks. That's when Sheila came on. Are you done with these? She worked the front desk, but she always would say hi to me and we would talk, and she just had this infectious smile about her. She just glowed.
You know, you definitely got the sense that she loved being up at the park and at Rainier.
And I always throw a going away party or farewell party for everybody. I'd build a great big fire and get a keg of beer and of course some food to feed them, and we're just saying goodbye to everybody. And Sheila came up. I'll never forget this. She came up to the fire and just the glow on her face, and she goes, "Jules, I got hired on for the winter crew." She goes, "I'm so excited, we'll be working together." And I was just like, wow, that's great. And that's the last time I saw her.
Sheila Kearns went missing in October of 1996.
She dined here with friends and co-workers Friday night, and that's the last time anyone saw her.
Now we're looking for is just anything that will give us some kind of direction.
Multiple law enforcement agencies responded once Sheila went missing, including the National Park Service. But the FBI took over the case because it happened in a national park.
At the time that she was reported missing, she was moving into some new housing at Mount Rainier National Park.
The manager who tried to find her the next day went to her room because she didn't show up for work. They said that her slippers were real nice and tidy. They're right by the bed, and her bed was, she hadn't slept in it.
There was apparently like this massive 3-day search, like with dogs. How could they not have found her? I find that strange. I think she was under the snow at the time.
It wasn't until May of '97 her remains were located.
Well, right now we're looking at the community building. This is the old Longmire campground. This is where Sheila's remains were initially found.
Her remains had been scattered around about a 300-yard area.
And then when I found out a couple of months later that this is where her body was found, I mean, that was just, like a visceral gut hit. Until this day, I have never come back here.
When Sheila went missing, the FBI spoke to a number of possible suspects, including some of the people we spoke with for our story. However, investigators say everyone they spoke with was clear.
Just because a person was cleared in an investigation a number of years ago doesn't mean that new information might come to light which makes them a subject or a suspect again.
It's just a sinister type aura around what had happened to her. And it made you wonder, like, you know, is there somebody out there?
I didn't want that fear to limit how I lived my life, and simultaneously it did limit how I lived my life. I mean, even to this day, when I look at Mount Rainier, it's a haunted place for me because of that, because of what happened to her.
We know that she left a note. We have no idea where she went, who she might have went with, or what her plans were.
I remember Sheila as somebody who was incredibly spiritual, very soft-spoken, very introspective. I'm Ryan Hill, and I worked with Sheila Kearns at Mount Rainier National Park in 1996. She also was incredibly careful, always on edge that or something from her past was coming to catch up with her.
She seemed like a person who had a past in some way. I don't know what that past was, but just that she was trying to start clean and fresh.
She married a fella, and she put him through med school, and then he said adios after he got his degree, and that's how she came up to our place.
Sheila was reported missing, or was last seen around October 4th. It wasn't until May of '97 that her remains were located at a nearby area near the housing that she was moving into.
She came in the middle of August, September, and the first week of October. I mean, that's only like 6 or 7 weeks for something like this, so devastating to happen to somebody that was just with us so shortly.
The FBI tells us they have a couple of theories about how Sheila was killed.
Two include that maybe she was attacked by a mountain lion while she was out for a walk.
I don't think she was going to go out for a walk, is what the rangers said, that she liked to go out there for a walk and a cougar got her.
There's also the theory that she was abducted and killed. We were unable back then to collect enough physical evidence to support either of those theories.
It's very discouraging that 27 years later, what happened to Sheila is still a mystery. Throughout the years, there has been less and less information about the story on the internet.
When we started to research this story, we didn't find very much about this case either. However, over the years, there was one person who kept digging for details. Dixie Walter was a reporter at a small newspaper in Eatonville. Over the years, she recorded and kept every interview she did, including with Sheila's mom, Olive, and Sheila's former co-worker, Jules Hayden.
Too many questions. Well, that's it. There's too many questions, and they all have to be answered at some point. And there is an answer. There's got to be. There's an answer to every mystery.
She contacted me as a person of interest that had worked with her. And we would sit there and ponder that back and forth, back and forth. I'm going, no, it couldn't be him. No. But you never know. Never know. I was just listening to a tape of Olive the other night with Dixie talking to her, and it was just so sad.
I don't really care now about them finding who did it. I know I shouldn't feel like that.
You just want to put her to rest.
Yeah, I do. I just don't feel like maybe I'll face up to it better to just put her to rest.
The amount of research and the amount of hours that she spent making phone calls, interviewing people, trying to connect loose ends together.
She was the one who was keeping the story alive.
While the Kearns case went closed, Dixie's reporting has revived Sheila's story. And now her friends and family are seeking justice and closure, while the FBI says more than anything, they are seeking anyone who will speak up.
There are some people that knew her well that are still in the area. For them to come forward and tell us again what they remember, what they know, would be very helpful.
Like if the story reaches one person, who calls the FBI, that could be the missing piece that would solve the case and bring Sheila and her family, justice and closure.
It's kind of touching. I can almost go back to time, the 4 years that I did have with her. The best part was letting her fall asleep on my chest and then just looking at her. And Nikki. Nikki was the type of person that when you look at her, your heart melted. They both had smiles that was priceless. We kind of drifted our own way, but we also made it a point that no matter what, whoever came in my life, whoever came in her life, that Adrian would always come first.
Can you take me back to the days beforehand? Was anything off?
No, everything was a typical visitation day. The only thing that was different, Nikki had went to her window a few times. It kind of gave me the impression that she was expecting somebody. That particular night, that's probably one of my only regrets. My daughter wanted to come home with me that night, and I didn't take her home with me that night. And that's something that I had to live with, the rest of my life. The thing that I remember more than anything was the fact that her looking out that window and waving at me goodbye. And I never would have thought that that would have been by forever. It was about, 8:39 when I went by the house that Thursday night. Knocked on the door, didn't hear anything, didn't get an answer. I touched the doorknob and I turned it. It gave way, it opened. All of a sudden I pushed against resistance. When I walked in, I stumbled. I reached down to see what I tripped over. As it turned out, it was my daughter Adrian, and it was her leg. The fact that, I'm getting emotional. When I reached down and grabbed it, it was like solid lead, brick. And I heard Marcus in a playpen crying. I picked him up, grabbed him, ran next door, and gave him Marcus and said, hey, you need to call 911, something happened over here.
Something's wrong. What's wrong? My husband is over there with him, trying to find out what's going on, if they can revive him or what, I don't know.
And so I'm looking over at her mom and saying, what happened, what happened, what happened? And I'm hoping that this is a dream. And it's a nightmare that somebody pinch me and wake me up.
My name is Martin Garland. I'm a detective with the Bremerton Police Department. I think it's likely that there was more than one person involved. He or she came in while they were likely sleeping. We're confident that it's somebody who knew the family. They were likely let into the house by Nikki because she knew them.
If she considered you as a friend and somebody she trusted, she would open up the door and let you in.
The night the crime happened, Kenny was taken here to the Bremerton Police Department to be questioned. Police looked at him as a person of interest. He was ruled out, and since then, police have looked at multiple people as persons of interest. But here we are more than 30 years later and no arrest in this case. Detective Garland tells me that they believe they're one tip away from solving this.
We did receive an anonymous tip from somebody who was intimately involved with the participants in this case.
And that's her being sweet and innocent. I miss my daughter more than life itself. And one day, according to my Bible, I plan on seeing them again.
Does that bring you comfort?
Yeah, it does. I can't change evil. I can't change what happened. And I can't keep living in the past to allow it to stop me from being me. What I do see, Adrian and Nikki's story is being told. That's what I care about.